All right, get your coffee, because Concord's not done yet. So I was just chilling with my cat. As you can see, he hasn't moved, so I had to literally organize a whole new scene in OBS and create new masks with my left hand. I'm a righty. He wouldn't move, so I didn't want to move him out of the way. He's so cute. He's literally just been sleeping there for the last like 30 minutes. I have not moved my arm for like 30 minutes. Anyway, that's beside the point. We're gonna watch something from Hero Hey, and he goes over this very well. But we're gonna observe this as a reaction, and I want to really talk about the devs at question, about the devs at question, about the society we've grown up in, where it rewards everyone for participation. Everyone gets a participation trophy just for being there, and effort is becoming less and less obviously put in anything. I mean, gaming is one thing. We can say gaming is all right, just games. But as a professor or a professor assistant, I consider myself a professor, the professor. But as a professor assistant for a lot of my life, I've seen students completely fail at basic mathematics. And when a professor sees that his class is actually 50% or plus at a 60 grade D level, they will throw out either like bluntly wave the class up 10% to weigh it upwards, or they'll just basically give everyone an easy test to get 3 points and then boost their grades up by 10%. And these are future doctors, future accountants, finance managers, engineers, the people building the places we're living. No wonder like a brick house back 100 years ago is more quality than whatever the hell paper houses we're building today. So this is just not a gaming problem. This is an overall participation trophy problem. But when it exists in one category, it exists in a lot more. So let's take a look at what's happening here with Hero Mel and this whole weird issue. We're gonna have Cat here move around from time to time. This is Shadow, by the way. This is my cat, Shadow. He's the cutest little motherfucker, and he's apparently very tired today, or just being a cat. So let's see what these devs are talking about, and why Concord failed, and why their new projects are gonna fail, and potentially why everything else that they're gonna touch is gonna be destroyed.
Set to release on September 23rd, 2025, called Marathon. And it's supposed to be this like co-op first-person shooter, extraction shooter sort of game. Players working together in what they're calling quote-unquote crews, which I believe go up to 3 people. So potentially you'll have like 2 teams of 3 going up against each other, and they define the gameplay loop as get in, gather as much loot as you can, and make it out alive. And reception for this game is already rather tempered at best, but many are.
Like honestly, this kind of gives me like Fooly Cooly vibes, which I love it. I love the anime. So the kind of flat design to me is pretty decent. But it's just another fucking shooter. Like how many shooters do we need? And how much more unique can you make them? Apex came in with the weird sliding mechanic. Now everyone has a sliding mechanic, including Fortnite. Driving uh, vehicles throughout a closing map that you're trying to extract or be the last one standing or whatever. There's only so much you can do to hero shooters. And in this case, I'm down with the graphics, although it's low level. It's not a lot of effort. Let me look at the bullets. They're kind of square. That's like very Robloxy, right? Even though the rest of like the arm here, like this part of the design, I don't know if you can see my mouse through this. Let me see. No, you can't. So basically, if you look at the bracer, it's very smooth, and then you look at the little bullet that's going inside of the green bullet going inside of the weapon, and it's like a freaking rectangular prism. What? Who's seen bullets that are literally squares? I guess maybe that's a futuristic design. I don't know, but for sure, it can literally get stuck in that little chamber. It's just geometry. So, like, even the intuition of like an individual that's kind of familiar with trying to fit shapes and fucking holes, you put the circle in the circle, you put the square in the square. This doesn't make sense. But, you know, It doesn't look consistent. I love the actual flat sort of fooly cooly look because it does really remind me of that anime. And that's it. That's all I got really.
Saying it looks worse than that. For example, saying it looks really boring, really bland, and uninspired, etc., etc. Well, in a Reddit post from the other day, on Sunday, April 13th, a Marathon dev came out with a statement addressing the issues that people have in his own special way, which you'll see in a moment, while also mentioning that he is a dev who also worked on the one, the only, Concord. Before we read that, let's get some more context on the public reception. Here's some of the
Concord
top
was a
comments
failed
from the trailer
experiment.
that I was just playing. Comments reading, at the end of the marathon is layoffs. Hearing that there's a new marathon game out and then finding out it's a team-based extraction shooter took me from such an elated high to such a depressing depth so fast that ancient Greeks are writing an epic poem about it. Art style has changed a lot since the first trailer. Back then, the teaser
Even time is breaking and Greeks are shrugging or shrugging because I don't care, but also shuddering because they're cringed out by the constant repetitiveness of the fucking future and scene.
trailer embossed a gritty, surreal, and unforgiving feeling, an eerie one to say the least. This trailer felt arcadey, plasticky, and casual, a very different feeling compared to the teaser trailer. This is quite conflicting, to be honest. And I love how the general vibe in the comments is that everyone's just really underwhelmed. Alright, with that context, let's hop
Yeah.
over to the Reddit post from the Marathon dev, who's also an ex Concord dev. And I'll be joining you over there in VTuber mode. Hopefully you saw yesterday's video where I briefly mentioned what's going on with that. But super ultra quick TLDR, I'll be doing some videos in part with my VTuber model, maybe entirely with the VTuber model, or maybe not using the model at all. It kinda just depends, but the idea is
I
it'll
got
help
a
me make more
model.
videos,
It's
get
just
more
a
content
raccoon.
out there. And on top of that, it
I
can
think
also
he's
just
cool.
help me get videos done more efficiently because, to be quite frank, it's less editing when I use the VTuber model. I noticed yesterday, like I got that video done way quicker than usual. Not that my videos are highly edited to be
I mean, I'm not much of a big YouTuber. I just enjoy kind of reacting, playing around with these little backgrounds you see there. This is all HTML. So I like to tinker with technology, and I can make some pretty interesting stuff. But I'm trying things too. I'm trying a VTuber model. It's pretty decent. It's the little raccoon that you'll see in some of my videos. I'm trying this little side by side, masking corner edges that are nice and smooth. And of course, the background that's constantly adaptable, adjustable. I'm trying to go somewhere, baby boy. Where you going? You falling? Can't get up? What are we doing? Are we playing? Okay.
begin with. I'm not saying that. But
Yeah.
regardless, more efficiency is still a good thing. Okay, with that all said, we're over here on Reddit with the title Former Firewalk slash Concord Dev Talks Marathon. Yeah, you know it's going to be good. Hey all, former Firewalk Studios dev here. I've been a longtime lurker for many years and rarely
Lurker.
post to Reddit slash any social in regards to what is going on with my life as a developer slash artist. After reading the comments about Marathon being Concord 2.0 on Reddit, YouTube, and Twitch, I just wanted to share a little insight into what a 40-year-old man is feeling after dedicating a large portion of his
Oh,
life to making video games. I
you
mean,
hurt.
I guess maybe, but like it sounds like what you really want to do is try and like make people like think it's not going to be.
Like, first and foremost, he's not talking about the game. He's obviously saying the trigger for me writing is all the negative response on Marathon and the big Concord 2.0. It's like, okay, when you go into English writing literature in high school, what's a paragraph going to look like? A hook? Hello, I'm a former Firewalk Studio dev here. That's a pretty decent hook. People want to hear from a dev. And then the thesis of what the hell you're going to talk about. He goes from, Concord 2.0 is the subject and the second sentence of that paragraph, and then goes, I just wanted to share a little insight into a 40-year-old man. I thought you were going to talk about Concord. That's what triggered you to talk. So you're triggered by Concord, but you feel like talking about a 40-year-old man that happens to be on the dev team. Or not triggered by Concord, triggered by the Concord 2.0 comments about Marathon. So you're going to talk about a 40-year-old man, 40-year-old man. Hello? Did someone not teach him how to write an essay? Like a basic body, hook, thesis, first paragraph. And then he goes, okay, for the 17 years, part of a great project. Has it been great though? A lot of talented people. Are they really talented though? Because that's questionable at this point. We're seeing the outcome of this production, and it doesn't scream talent to a lot of people.
Concord 2.0, right? So, for the past 17 years, I've been part of some great projects. But by the way, not exactly a compelling
He's
argument to be
calm
like, it's
again.
not Concord 2.0, we just have Concord devs working on this.
Basically, right? Look, if you're in a business, you're going to reuse assets to save money. And in graphic design, the logic can be reusable as well. But even the graphics can be reused or retouched because you're gonna have the models, the 3D models from Concord, and you're gonna be like, oh, those didn't work, so let's spoof it up a notch. And then with like AI, you can just make a system, make an actual AI that you can import a RAG model, which would be literally like a PDF, into a RAG model. That RAG model would convert it into simpler terms for the AI. And then the AI can basically interpret it and talk about this PDF file that you gave it. So what's the difference between creating a custom RAG model that takes in models, 3D models, and then you tell it, oh, just smoothen out the edges. And then the AI goes in, smoothens out the edges of that model and spits it back out, and boom, you just recycled a model. Super easy nowadays. You just have to have a custom AI do that for you. And at this point, even a regular dev can do that. But like having what, $200 million put into a game that didn't even work for 2 weeks, and now they think that's a talent. And when you work in one business, you're gonna reuse assets. That's just normal. It's super normal to reuse, especially digital assets that are essentially infinite. You can copy and paste them as much as you want. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on
Continuing
that.
though. For the past 17 years, I have been part of some great projects and worked with some of the most talented people who made me the dev I am today, excuse me. Many players know about Concord and what happened with that project. Concord failed to inspire players, and the messages was heard loud and clear. It was gut wrenching to see our project fail and be the laughing stock of many online. I have learned that failure is what drives me to succeed. No one feels as bad.
So let me come on here and complain because of this drive to succeed instead of making a better game or taking the community comments. What are you doing here, 40-year-old man that's trying to take the narrative? We're here to talk about why Concord didn't work and why Marathon is a version 2.0. You haven't stated anything other than boo hoo, comments suck, that's mean, we have great talent with no feasible, quantifiable measurement for this talent other than Concord. Oh, dude, relax. So, where is any of the reasonable process here where you're saying, all right, I've learned from the mistakes we've made, and what are the mistakes? Because obviously he doesn't say anything. But I've learned from the mistakes. We've learned from the mistakes. We're going to make a better system now. Where's any of that? Where is any of that? It's just, oh, boo-hoo, feel bad. We're gonna do better because we're being pushed down as the underdog. Everyone wants to be the fucking underdog, for sure. To come from nothing and be something, for sure. Sports, football, both football, soccer and football, depending on where you are in the world. Tennis, anything you do, you can be the underdog if you put the effort. But the effort doesn't include whining to the audience, preaching to the choir, right?
As the people who put their time on the line, hoping it will entertain the masses of gamers across the globe. Okay, pause. Did they did they really think this is kind of like a rhetorical question, but like it's still hard to believe. I'm going to change the point. Actually, it's not a rhetorical question. Here's the point. It's kind of hard to believe that any of the devs who worked on Concord ever genuinely thought like, oh yeah, everyone around the globe is going to love this. Like maybe not everyone, but you know, gamers, massive gamers around the globe are going to love this game. My point is, how tone deaf could these people be?
Very.
It's like insane. I am not asking.
It's not tone deaf. It's purposeful obfuscation of actual information that's related to Concord. He identifies Concord, that he's a dev for Concord, but he's failing to identify any sort of formulation to why it didn't work. And from his internal perspective, it's perfect. He's a freaking dev. but he's not being self-aware. Voila, something changed. Who knows what it is? Could be the lighting, could be my shirt, but something definitely changed. I had to pause it for a bit because I had to help out a friend or a colleague with some documentation. Anyway, back to the point. As a dev, you have perfect observational ability to basically describe what went wrong. But the issue here with these sort of devs that are trying to essentially gain sympathy rather than logically approach things. Also, ate some food, so I'm a little bit low. Kind of brings down the fact that you're a professional in your field, as you say, but you're not actually providing any professional output, just emotional appeal. So why? Is it because you're aware that the issues are at hand and you're not acknowledging them? Biggest problem in business, never acknowledge your faults. Attempt to fix them in the case of, positive outlook, hoping that others will trust that you will fix your issues. But at this point, their trust in these huge institutions and these huge corporations, it's falling apart. So most people don't take words for granted anymore. They're not going to listen to your words. I mean, if they do listen to your words, you better be specific. Absolutely to the point specific. Otherwise, words are words, man. And honestly, I've lived a life enough to go through a lot of work to see even professional people just speak words but never do the action behind them. So, anyway, let's continue with a little bit of a different environment.
Asking for pity or even sympathy, because
Pity.
after all, this is the name of the game. You win or lose.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
Some of you
Rivals.
probably smell blood in the
Yes.
water and probably want to roast me for no longer lurking and exposing myself. I hope you don't, and see that people create these projects and work very hard to be the next big thing.
People make mistakes. People also work on projects. So it's good for people to recognize the mistakes they make in order to make the projects better in the future. Accountability, responsibility. This is what's missing from society today as a whole. When you have a middleman providing a middleman to another middleman, a hospital providing or being provided health insurance support or money from a patient, middlemen, just middlemen everywhere. Amazon selling products from other people that are somewhere in between, and each time a middleman takes the box and hands it to the next person, the cost goes up. The accountability is also lost. If that package broke, who's accountable? Who knows which person was the one that actually broke it? If you have four people that handed the package left to right, you got a 25% chance to be right. But that's not enough in reality to be like, oh, they can take the fault. They're just going to point fingers. It's just, there's no accountability. There's no responsibility anymore. And people are just pointing fingers at others for faults and they're not taking the responsibility for themselves. This is a case here in game development where we know who's at fault. We know who made the mistake. They're just not admitting it because that's the business etiquette way.
Commend them for taking a chance, trying something foreign to them that isn't proven nor guaranteed to succeed. It takes a lot of courage. Okay, bro, so let's discuss this point right here where he's like, I hope you don't, and see that people create these projects and work very hard to be the next big thing. Why do so many developers like this, like specifically it's usually like AAA devs who work on a game like Concord, they end up trying to have this like toxic positivity stuff, which is something that also got exposed to Firewalk Studios, right? That was like a big point of contention, that they had this culture of toxic positivity, I believe was the quote. And it kind of reminds me of that. It's like, oh, I hope no one says anything bad about our game. You know, we're people that work on this.
Appeal to the emotions.
How is that an actual like counterpoint of any merit? Like, hey, you're not allowed to
There's no merit.
criticize this game, this AAA game, because you know people work on this.
I prefer toxic
It's
honesty.
reminding me. It's giving me flashbacks,
Not
more like
toxic,
war flashbacks from a
obviously.
week
Blunt
ago
honesty.
of the voice acting situation with Genshin, where all these voice actors,
But even
wanna,
toxic honesty,
or they
which
feel
you'll
entitled
see
to like
on
the
like
public supporting their
Marvel
cause with the
Rivals when
whole
people are
alleged
like,
strike that they're not
"Hey,
that they're now calling a
you suck at
collective work
GPS."
refusal, right?
That's
It's
toxic
like, oh,
honesty.
the internet should support
Look at the
us.
numbers. Maybe you actually
the
do,
people, the
but
fans
you
of
can say
Genshin
it
need to
better.
support us. We're voice actors. We deserve their support. And these people are like, oh, we're devs. We deserve the public supporting us. It just comes off so entitled. I don't know how they ever thought this like
Entitled, because everyone has been rewarded trophies for just participating. We tried our best. We did all we can. Please support us. Like, that's okay for an indie dev. Two, three, four people working from a garage making a game, selling it on Steam. But you're a $200 million investment. That's not okay for you. In fact, that should be fireable, and it's amazing they're still there under the budget that they're given. Any other job? Gone. Finance, banking, look at like any sort of stock market based corporation, majority, because nowadays Ubisoft is also within the stock market in the Europe. But any one of those has accountability, and if you screw up a number and you mess up, oh, I messed up the decimal point. It was actually 5 billion, not 500 million. Whoops, you're fired. You know?
An acceptable thing and like a good point to constantly be making over and over again, as if it's like some sort of gotcha against criticism. And of course, the other fallback plan is, oh, when we get criticism, let's just say it's like harassment. That's always one that they like to use too. And we got this.
Please
I
don't
commend them
harass
for taking a chance,
us.
trying something for. I think I read this already. My bad. Foreign to them that isn't proven nor guaranteed to succeed. It takes a lot of courage. Okay, TLDR. TLDR. I worked on Concord and did my best. We came up short, but that's an understatement. $200+ million loss. Game closes in like 2 weeks. Was it? It's like one of the most biggest failures in gaming.
You barely made an inch, my dude. 2 weeks before your whole game closes? Came up short is like, you got to pay your rent. It's $1,000 and you have 900. I'm a little short. It's $100. $200 million loss. Efforts put in. 2 weeks in and it's closed because no one's playing it. That's not short. That's a complete and utter failure. This is how people use words to manipulate the dialogue. You have to understand what it is to be up short, and up short is like $100 underneath your rent. I'm short. I'll pay you back next week when I get paid. That makes sense. Well, you don't come up short when you lose $200 million and your product closes in 2 weeks because no one wants it. That's a complete failure. That's I only have $5 for my rent. I'm sorry. For $1,000. That's how big of a difference that is.
And hey guys, we came up short, but we did our best. I mean, dude, if that's your best, what is like? Who would want you to work on another game? Yeah, that was our best work right there, guys. Here's now us working on Marathon. Don't forget to buy it. Like, okay, bro.
Yeah, okay.
We came up short. Please don't punish others for our mistake. We are all human beings. Oh my gosh, there we go again. We are all
Guilty
human
emotion.
beings who are trying to create something special, and Marathon is no different.
You go to one of those basketball games, baseball games, and you all get a trophy for trying. I get that. You may be used to that. You maybe lived a life where all you had to do was show up. But life doesn't work that way. And I think we've done a disservice to a lot of people in the past by making them feel like this is the way things work. You just have to be there and try, and all of a sudden everything's fine. That's not how life works. I'm sorry to tell you. So if anyone still thinks that to this day and you're watching, you have to adjust that mindset. Absolutely have to. You have to think of yourself in the woods with bears all around you. You can't try to run. You are running. You are sprinting out of the way, doing your best to not die. That's life. Welcome to the jungle. Like, sorry to say, but we don't live in paradise. And when people use this kind of wording, it makes it seem like, oh, we did our best. No, obviously not. Your best would have gave a little bit more. What happened to giving your 110%? Like the effort's there, but the efforts also can be really construed by the political aspect of all of this, which I'm not gonna get into.
Be kind and be cool, as video games are meant to be fun. How about stop acting like the internet police and just make a good game? You apparently have all these talented people working on it. You got Bungie's AAA money with you too. But hey, people were saying this might be Concord 2.0.
Bungie,
And
right.
dude had to
This
come
one's
out and
Bungie, not
apparently
Concord-
expose
not
himself to make this
Ubisoft.
damage control post. Very interesting. Let's sort the comments by controversial and take a look at what some of the Redditors are downvoting. We've got this one at the top, but actually first I'll read this mod post. Though we can't ever 100% confirm anyone who comes to our subreddit, this account's user history appears genuine and lines up with this post's description. I'm going to leave this post up despite the reports, as while this has a marginal relationship with the actual game, the insight it provides outweighs any potential spam or off-topic content issues it provokes. Thank you for the unique insight, OP. It is immensely appreciated. See my follow-up comment. What's that? Addendum. Oh, is this the proof? People, when I said that we can't 100% confirm anyone comes to our subreddit, I didn't mean we hadn't done our due diligence. I meant that on the internet, one can never be absolutely certain. A 30-second glance at their user profile/history, a glance I did.
And talking about participation trophies, Reddit mods. I'm sorry, but Reddit's not what it used to be. It started 4chan, and then Reddit came in with the more publicly acceptable forum. It was a little bit less cringy than 4chan. And then you go to something like, I don't know, Facebook or X for your typical slop, right? But Reddit basically, after ChatGPT bought them, I feel like they went straight from like respectable source. At least in the tech space, it's pretty respectable. In the political, social place, not so much. But it went from like a respectable source to just political propaganda, like Blue Sky or Open Sky. No, Blue Sky. I think it was Blue Sky. There's so many skies on the internet. It just became slop. And the mods are the ones that are promoting the slop because if you don't agree with something, you don't let that content be posted. And sorry to say, most controversial topics and conversations are what make a good discussion.
Did 17 hours ago immediately validated this user's backstory via their LinkedIn to the highest burden of proof we can possibly provide on a platform like Reddit. Please stop reporting this post and DMing me about this. Okay. I find it funny
spam.
how this mod is like, oh yes, this post is so uniquely insightful. It's such a insightful post. It's like, bro,
You're
the
unique,
glazing. It wasn't very
OP.
insightful at all, really. I mean, it's hilarious to know that this guy and others may have, this guy and others.
How can you say that someone's complaining about being human and being in a job with responsibilities is insightful? That's literally what we all go to work for. No? Right? We have responsibilities we have to cater to in every single job. As a teacher, I have responsibility for you to grow as a student. For a bank finance advisor, they got to make sure you know the most up-to-date information on everything when it comes to finance. If you miss something because you didn't read up on something new that happened, it's your responsibility for that being informed as the advisor, not as the customer. Liability isn't the person providing the product or service. So how is it insightful just to repeat, oh, we're people working at a job. Please, keep buying the game or don't think of it as a issue. You guys are the same people making the same game twice. Marathon's just a change in possible 3D models on top of probably not much of a game mechanics change because it looks basically the same. Not that I've played it thoroughly or anything like that, but I've seen plenty of gameplay videos to say, all right, it's basically just a shooter. And every shooter is basically the same after Fortnite, Call of Duty, and Counter-Strike, CSGO.
Other Concord devs, ex-Concord devs, are now apparently working on Marathon. But aside from that, it's not a very insightful post at all. So I don't know. It just seems like some unnecessary glazing there. But let's see some of the most downvoted, most controversial responses.
Patting on the head. Good
those
job.
are going to be pretty interesting, I'm sure. To
You're
clarify
doing
what I mean, by the way, sort by controversial
Thanks
on Reddit.
for
That's
trying.
the thing. I think it means like posts that are getting lots of upvotes and downvotes. There's like an upvote downvote battle going on or something. Sorry, but bland, homogenized paint by number games like Concord deserve to fail. Devs need to be reminded that AAA games exist to be sold as products. If the first reaction to the game is a resounding meh, then rather than taking it as an insult or ignoring it, maybe ask why. Then put in the work to understand the reason why people are not responding to it and try to course correct before it is too late. Ignoring the issues, making self-pity posts, and hoping for the best is going to end just like it ended for Concord and Firewalk. You might not want to hear it, and this might get downvoted like crazy, but it is the truth and needs to be said. The main problem with AAA games these days is that they all try to copy-paste from each other because they are ballooning their budgets on
Absolutely, they're spending money on countless kits, dev systems, strategies for development, which is probably licensed and somebody else is getting paid for those strategies. And everyone's using it, so why shouldn't we as a professional AAA? So they're spending extra money on the reflection of water when they should be spending more money on the devs, potentially, depending on the dev, working to create a better mechanical, unique game, something that no one's played before. That's the whole point of a game, is to make something others have not seen, not to recreate Fortnite with different graphics or changing a couple of tweaks here and there. Like, I would say Fortnite to Apex was a pretty decent upgrade, even though the concept is similar. The way that kind of Apex mixed the abilities of individual characters and their unique spells per se to kind of mix like League of Legends with Fortnite and then put it in a pot and mixed it together and made Apex. That was pretty cool. That was a great little adjustment. Now, I love the sliding when you go running. Um, but at that point, you can't mix so many things before it just becomes the same slop over and over again. You can change the graphics, but that doesn't mean anything.
On useless tech that no one asked for. That also has the side effect of being so performance expensive that it locks out half your potential user base. Example, ray tracing. This is
Yeah,
very performance impacting, barely makes a
true.
difference visually, and making it mandatory locks many people with older PCs out of being a potential customer. No one cares about Concord. The sales prove that. Concord is just a cautionary tale that other devs should learn from. It should be an example of what not to do. And this person gets -2 downvotes. So, quoting the OP and saying, I commend them for taking a chance, trying something foreign to them that isn't proven nor guaranteed to succeed. It takes a lot of courage. Taking a chance with what? With making another bog standard live service shooter with seemingly no campaign? Going with a bog standard acid color
That's
palette?
the problem
Boldly ripping off
too.
another.
Games have lost the ability for campaigns. Creating a full campaign for a game takes creativity, and it takes a lot of work and thought, calculations, storytelling, creativity. But creating just some sort of battle pass live service multiplayer game takes zero of any of that. Converting a story into multiplayer takes a lot of work, a lot of adjustments, balance, so that everyone has a fair fight. Because you might be able to have like slowing down time in single player campaign mode because you're only one person, you can slow the whole game down. But if you slow the whole game down for online, you can't just slow it for one person. You would be slowing it for the whole server. So you would have to remove certain things that just don't work in a multiplayer environment. But when you just focus on making a multiplayer game and you don't have any history of creative storytelling, it's obvious it's really bad and poor, and you don't even have a story to start from. Games like League of Legends, they kind of create a story for each character and it dives people more into the comic like environment. Marvel kind of has a story of its own already. Its Rivals is just kind of piggybacking on the Marvel universe. Apex tried with stories. It's kind of not. I don't like it. I never got into that. I never got into the League of Legends, and I even less so got into the Apex. I just play the games because they were fun. Some people need a little bit more though. They need to be um, basically pulled into the story to feel like they're a part of the game. And Concord, the character design, I don't even think I saw any story behind any of them. Tupperware girl or whatever. Like, there's just so many weird, cringe things. Cliche. No wonder it failed. There's just no creativity in any of it. Try making the campaign first, a good story, and then convert that campaign into a multiplayer. You'd have a better time creating something with more quality. But it takes more time and storytelling and creativity to create a story rather than just create a bunch of random characters in a generator, polishing them up a little bit, and pitching them against each other in the arena. There's no story behind that.
Another game in the genre without an ounce of originality? Oh, I know. They took a chance with ripping off their own old IP for name recognition, while having seemingly nothing to do with it. So pulled, so proud. With all due respect to the work you did on.
Anyway, I can banter about this. The kind of final here is games have changed, efforts have changed, and in a way, When you see the common denominator of a culture being affected by something, in this case, let's call it for what it is, it's meritless, effortless developers that are essentially trying to spew some sort of message behind it. We've already seen this being tracked from government. That's what Doge exists for, and that's why DEI is a keyword everyone's basically familiar with. But when you see that sort of denominator that's starting to pop up in every term, that's when you know something's about to break. And for a lot of companies like Ubisoft and now Bungie, and anyone involved in these sort of crapola slop fests, uh, I mean, I've Schedule One, an indie game by a solo developer, probably it definitely made more money than this garbage. Like it just takes creativity. It takes a specific daftness because Schedule One, I kind of want to play it, but I don't at the same time because students. Ignore the leaf on my chest, you know. But students, I'm not gonna be talking about the subjects involved in Schedule One, so I'm avoiding that game. But like, I've seen so many low budget games make it big just because they had a creative thought. Just one. Yeah, the graphics suck. Maybe they have unique views on the graphics. Maybe it's those pixelated horror games or the VHS type of games that look like you're recording. It forces or it accepts the lack of quality in the game, and you put a video filter on top and it looks like, oh, look, someone recorded it. It's basically a cheap way to get some decent adjustments to the value of the graphics. But people make it with those all the time because it's the creativity of the game itself that actually makes the pull. What's pulling anything here? Nothing. Schedule One, obviously, what the pull is. It's a weird game. It's interesting. Um, and that's actually taking a chance because now you're on a subject that's pretty controversial. Well, I probably say it's more accepted nowadays, but because it's a game simulation, it's a little bit less of a harsh reality for the game to exist versus the way that it blew up in popularity. But there's your difference, man. And this aspect, the common denominator of these meritless individuals getting jobs and fulfilling absolutely nothing but their own political or cultural agendas, we see it everywhere. The next step is that you now start seeing it at doctors' offices, lawyers, and financial banking institutions. They will go for the cultural aspect, DEI hires, supporting their own little cultural groups over the majority, over just the general set. So if you hire somebody without merit, without experience, without actual integrity, they're gonna do the job the way they want to do it. There's an example: Concord, Marathon, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now imagine we have a political backlash and there's a Democrat doctor and he learns that his patient's Republican and he needs surgery. Do we need to talk about how serious that is compared to just a video game? Ah, man, things have indeed changed. So I'm gonna leave a description, the link to this guy. Great video. If you want to finish it off, definitely recommend watching it. I've put my 2 cents, 5 cents, dollar. I don't know how much I put in. I put in pretty much. I like to talk and kind of discuss things in a further scope, not just beyond, or not just encaved within the subject of the video. I like to broaden the horizons. And yeah, so if you like any of these sort of introspective, external observations, deeper thoughts, make sure you like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it super. If you also need any help with mathematics, I'm at stigmelearning.com, or you can essentially just hire me at Patreon. If you go to my Patreon, you'll see it in the description as well. You can hire me on an hourly basis, monthly basis, however you feel like you need the help. But you can also go to stigmelearning.com. I'll also leave that in the bottom, where you can get not just me, but a bunch of different tutors it's actually a great place to find very specific help. We've helped students with ADHD, dyslexia, autism, a lot, a lot of speed bumps that can get in the way from education. So mathematics is specifically there. If you find me on Patreon, I can expand that not just to math, but also to programming, history, chemistry, physics, all kinds of subjects. So all the info in the description below. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And until the next time I decide to rant about something else. Peace.